We are 1 week away from the trade deadline, and I'm going to tell you why the Nationals will be selling Nathaniel Lowe.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And later on in today's program, we will have a discussion looking ahead to the next week for the Washington Nationals. What could it look like with the trade deadline coming around? And also, the Nationals are in Minnesota this weekend. So we'll have that discussion for you later on as what this week will hold for the Washington Nationals. It's going to be quite interesting, to say the least. And in the second segment, I've got some possible suitors for the Washington Nationals first baseman, Nathaniel Lowe. I've got two teams in there with also potential returns that I think would fit the Washington Nationals' needs. So make sure to stay tuned for segment 2. But we start off discussing why the Nationals will be selling Nathaniel Lowe, and this just makes sense for the Washington Nationals. Let's call it as it is. Nathaniel Lowe has been a disappointment for the Washington Nationals. And when you make this move right before Christmas, you trade away left-handed pitcher Robert Garcia, who has turned out to be a pretty decent reliever for the Rangers. And unfortunately for the Nationals, the Nathaniel Lowe trade has not worked out the way that we anticipated it to. So back when the Nationals traded for him, it made sense. The Nationals should have been in that category. They should be looking to improve at a pivotal offensive position. But Nathaniel Lowe this season has not done the due diligence to keep him here in DC. And even if he did, that might even be a greater reason as to why you trade this guy at the deadline. But we sit here today, and Nathaniel Lowe has had a fine season. Not even an average season, maybe a tick below average, you could say. But the decline on him is real. And I think Nathaniel Lowe, unfortunately, is just on a negative slope at this point. I understood why the Nationals did that move, but he has been a disappointment so far. When we made that move, we raved about the defense. We raved about the power. The power has showed up at times, although it's been inconsistent, but still, the Nationals needed power over at first base. They tried to address that this offseason. I can't be mad with the move that they made, trading away Garcia, who wasn't really working here. And you get a first baseman who has the potential to be your first baseman of the future. But that's not the case anymore. Nathaniel Lowe is not the answer to our first base problem. He's just not at this point. And in fact, he has been a disappointment. So let's get into it, because the defense is what we all raved about. We all thought we were getting a Gold Glove caliber first baseman. We all believed that the Nationals would be in a lot better position moving forward, but that has not been the case. His fielding run value, according to Baseball Savant, last season was in the 80th percentile. He was a relatively elite defender this past season as far as his fielding run value goes. This year, it has dropped into the 22nd percentile as far as qualified first basemen go. He is well below average in that category. The defensive fall off has been real for Nathaniel Lowe, and it doesn't even just start there. Looking at his defensive run saves, I'll just tell you this, close your ears for this one. He is at a -4 defensive run saves, tied for 4th worst in all of baseball over at first base. And that's not even just for qualified players there. That's in the entirety of first basemen in Major League Baseball in 2025. This has kind of been a disaster as far as defensive first basemen go. He has statistically been one of the worst defensive first basemen in 2025. That's the reality of the situation that we are in. So the improvements that we thought we would be getting with Lowe defensively have not been there at all. And forget the numbers. It doesn't even pass the eye test. The ability to scoop over at first base has not been there. The ability to make plays and have range hasn't necessarily been there either. Nathaniel Lowe defensively has kind of been a mess, and it has followed suit really since the Nationals let Dominic Smith walk after 2022. And Dominic Smith, by the way, should not have been in question. Like, we should not have been trying to get a Dominic Smith in here. You always want to improve in that department. And we thought the Nationals did. And I think they have in some ways, because again, Nathaniel Lowe hasn't done everything bad. He is on pace for a pretty high home run count, which he has not done since 2022, 2021, where he was that power hitting first baseman who does have the ability to play really elite defense in there. But we have not seen that version for him whatsoever. So let's jump into the offensive side of things as to really what has gone wrong with Nathaniel Lowe. Number one, the good thing I will say is the power again. The power has been good. But what he was known for these past few seasons was his walk rate. Nathaniel Lowe, his walk rate went from the 97th percentile this past season back into the 52nd percentile. He has not been drawing walks the way that he has been. Now, I think that actually has to do with some of things. And honestly, some of it may be out of his control. When you are in a lineup with Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, with Adolis Garcia, you have these protections right there in the lineup. When you're protected by James Wood, that's good. Outside of that, there's no one to protect Nathaniel Lowe at this point in time. Josh Bell has been a hot hitter as of recent, but still, he's not protecting you any longer than a couple of innings there. So I look at that, and I think I can kind of excuse that. Here's where it gets wrong. His bat speed has went down incredibly. His exit velo has also been way down this season. Honestly, the bat speed, I think, is a way bigger indicator here as to what has gone wrong. It's just not there for Nathaniel Lowe. And when you generate more bat speed, you typically generate more power. And with more power, you typically put the ball in play more often, and you're able to be on base safely. That's just kind of how it is. And Nathaniel Lowe, all these indicators that show that he is slowing down, it's there and it's real. So the Nationals, they took a gamble on Nathaniel Lowe. And unfortunately, it did not work out for them. That is why you have to move off him at this deadline. This is not your long-term answer. He is not going up in that positive trajectory here. He is going down. And the numbers, they indicate that. The eye test, it indicates that as well. The Nationals have to do what's best for them. And right now, Nathaniel Lowe is not your long-term answer. Now, good for them because you have another year and a half of control with him. He has 2 postseasons left, and that's kind of how these GMs think. They think, well, how many postseasons can this player affect us? And at what cost? The cost is not going to be too big for Nathaniel Lowe. I can tell you that much. The Nationals will not be asking for your top 5 prospect in your system, for a top 3 prospect in your system for this guy. Maybe if there's a bidding war for Nathaniel Lowe, you get up into that top 15, top 10 territory for him. But I don't think that's going to be the case because these GMs see it. He's around 30 years old. He's going to be 31 plus when he's a free agent. And then also, he is declining right now. He is a declining player. And that's okay. Because again, Nathaniel Lowe has had a good career. I love Nathaniel Lowe. And again, I love the move that they made this last season. But also, when we made that move to begin with, I was kind of shocked at the low price it took to get him here. And when the Nationals made that move, I was like, I mean, this is a great deal for us. But why would the Rangers do that for such a low cost that has 2 years left of control? It made no sense at the time. So now I look at this and I'm like, you know what? Maybe the Nationals, they were up to something. But unfortunately, they were not. He is just a declining player at this time. But that does not mean that he is totally invalued at any position. And maybe a team needs a Nathaniel Lowe. Maybe they need someone to kind of loosen up their clubhouse a little bit and someone who has the potential to be a solid power hitting first baseman. And maybe they can tap back into his defense with also better defensive play in the infield. Because right now, CJ Abrams and Luis Garcia, I love them, but they also might be some of the reason why Nathaniel Lowe has declined so drastically defensively here. The Nationals have not been good in their infield defense for the past few seasons. That has been a very big sore spot for this team. So maybe with the new place, Nathaniel Lowe could kind of find back that defensive Gold Gloving winning performance for the Washington Nationals. And maybe it's for another team out there. And if you're curious as to who those teams could be, stay tuned, because I've got some suitors for Nathaniel Lowe and what a trade package could look like. And I'll tell you that after this. Gameday Hue is one of our new sponsors. And of course, today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue. And so is this hat that I am wearing for Locked On Nationals fans like me. This one hits the mark because Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. If you're watching over on YouTube, you see my red and white hat that they just sent me. I love rocking it on the course. It's subtle, it's stylish. It can still rep my team with the red and the white there. And also it is a slick look, and the hat pairs perfectly with my usual gear. It doesn't replace my team's logo stuff. It just adds to my lineup that I currently have. And so right now you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. And that's GamedayHue.com. Code MLB15. Again, that's GamedayHue.com. Code MLB15. Now we jump back into it with the Washington Nationals and potential trade suitors for first baseman Nathaniel Lowe. But first and foremost, thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. Make sure to subscribe over on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Again, just look up Locked On Nationals. And now we get into some trade suitors for Nathaniel Lowe. And this one is going to be interesting because I think a lot of people will not be too happy with the situation here, but you got to sell when the time is right, and the time is right. So my first team that makes the most sense for Nathaniel Lowe are the Boston Red Sox. They are 55-49. They hold the third wild card spot, and they've got teams like the Rays and the Rangers chasing after them, maybe even the Angels and the Royals who are making a last-second push there. But this team makes the most sense for Nathaniel Lowe. They need first base help. Tristan Casas has always been hurt. He is currently hurt right now, and they don't necessarily have a long-term answer there as we sit here today. So I think a potential trade package for Nathaniel Lowe would make a ton of sense for the Washington Nationals, and this is what I have right now. It's their number 26 prospect, Blake Wayhunt, I think that's what he is. The 2023 ninth round pick. He is 24 years old in AA, a right-handed pitcher. And this kind of makes the most sense for kind of what the Nationals could be looking for. And I also put in cash considerations for the Nationals as well. Maybe it's like $1,500,000. Who knows what the cash considerations could look like. But that's kind of what I have for the Nationals. You trade off first baseman Nathaniel Lowe, who has a year and a half of control left. Tristan Casas and him could be a nice little tandem there. You could platoon them and see what happens, because both those guys have good power. And I think Nathaniel Lowe may have a little more upside defensively there. And again, they are making a postseason push. When they moved off Rafael Devers, he was not going to be playing first base. They needed someone there. And right when they made that move, that's when I kind of started thinking Nathaniel Lowe could be a Boston Red Sox by this year's deadline. And I think right now that is the number one team who could be eyeing him, because again, they are making this surprising postseason push, and they need something there over at first base for a cheap cost and someone who is going to be there for the next year and a half. So I had to start putting together a trade package for the Nationals, and I think Blake Wayhunt, whichever we're going to say at this point, couldn't find a pronunciation for his last name, but the 24-year-old has put up really good numbers this season. And he's their number 26 prospect. But again, this is a loaded system. If you put him in the national system, he would probably be a top 15 prospect. He's at AA right now with the Portland Sea Dogs. He's been there all season long. 11 appearances, 10 starts, 52 and 2/3 innings pitched. In that time, has struck out 63 batters, has a 1.22 whip, and a fastball that plays relatively decently. But what he is known for is his splitter. I think this is someone who can come out of the bullpen for the Nationals moving forward. And this is someone who probably will get some spot starts here and there. But again, the Nationals need pitching. And we've talked about the wave of talent that has to come through. I think Blake Wayhunt could be in that conversation to be a solid Nationals bullpen guy and someone that we can look forward to next season coming out of this bullpen. Because right now, the Nationals need bullpen help. They need pitching help in general. I think this is kind of one of the answers, one of your questions here. If he's not a long-term starter, which is kind of what it feels like at this point, then maybe you have someone come out of the bullpen who is a 9th-round pick in 2023, relatively young, being at 24 years old, should be up in the majors by next season when he's 25. And then you have someone under team control for the next 6-7 years. I think the Nationals would be really smart to make a move with the Red Sox because outside of the fact that Nathaniel Lowe makes the most sense for them, but this is a loaded system. And you might hear the number 26 prospect. I feel like it's not that great. But again, this is one of the top systems in all of baseball. Probably the second best behind the Tigers, in my opinion. I think if you get Wayhunt here and the Nationals get some cash considerations or whatever else comes to it, then I think you have something that plays here. And again, the Nationals will do pretty well at this year's deadline. So I've got Blake Wayhunt going to the Nationals for Nathaniel Lowe, and we also get some cash considerations from the Red Sox. That is my number one suitor for this scenario here. My number two, quite funny, the Texas Rangers. I think the Texas Rangers could be a team interested in getting back Nathaniel Lowe. Now, is this possible? Maybe. But also, they're only 1.5 games back from the Red Sox for that third wild card spot. They started off this year really slow. They traded for Jake Berger. They thought he would be their long-term first baseman, but he has not worked out for them at all. And Nathaniel Lowe is not some major upgrade, but he is an upgrade. And if you do think that you can make a run and first base is one of your weakest positions, why not go after him? This team is a team that is set up to win right now, being the Rangers. So you better take advantage of this window. If you think Nathaniel Lowe might be a nice chess piece for you in the playoffs, then I think this makes sense for everyone involved. So the trade package that I have in this scenario for the Nationals, as the Rangers would be trading back for their first baseman, Nathaniel Lowe, is their number 23 prospect, Mark Church, and their number 25 prospect, Isaac Tiger. Let's talk about Mark Church real quick for the Nationals. He's a right-handed pitcher in AAA, 24 years old. Again, almost that major league ready pitcher that you kind of look at. And he has got electric stuff. I think this is actually a pretty big package. I don't necessarily see this happening, but if I'm Mike DeBartolo, I'm trying to make this happen because Mark Church, again, a 2019 18th round pick, and he has been really successful so far this season for the Rangers and really the past few years. I think he's got good stuff that could play out of the bullpen, a 70 grade slider, a 60 grade splitter. The stuff is nasty, but the control is completely out of the world. Like he cannot control anything at this point in time. But that's kind of why it screams reliever. And if the Nationals can tap into his stuff and make this guy some nasty 7th inning, 8th inning setup man for this team, then you've got yourself a win. I'm willing to bet on guys with good stuff. And Mark Church has great stuff right now for the Texas Rangers. He would typically be in a bullpen somewhere, but right now with where he is control-wise, he's nowhere close to that. But I'm willing to take a chance on someone with good stuff who might figure it out and who might find the zone. The Nationals have done pretty well with guys who don't have great control. DJ Hurst this past season looked the part, unfortunately underwent Tommy John surgery for the Nationals. Mitchell Parker has had some times here in DC where the control is everywhere, but overall has taken steps up in that regard. I would take a chance on Mark Church. And as far as the second guy, Isaac Tiger, who is their number 25 prospect. He's a 2023 seventh round pick, 24 years old again. Similar time frame. He is in high A, but I expect the Nationals probably not to get this lucky with him because he's really good. Then he's put up some really good numbers. He has a 2.93 ERA in high A, Wilmington across 3 different levels with rookie ball, low A, and as well as high A. But I expect this guy to be, number one, he's 24 years old. He's probably going to work his way through the system relatively quickly. And if you think he's a starter, right now he's put up the starter kind of numbers, 59 strikeouts and 46 innings pitched. He has given up 4 home runs in his 13 starts this season, which is not too bad. But if I'm the Nationals and this is the trade package that I get for Nathaniel Lowe, I would be absolutely thrilled with where they are. Now, maybe you would have to throw in something else if I'm the Nationals to get both of these guys. Maybe you package in Kyle Finnegan. Maybe you package in another reliever here in DC for the Rangers for this season. Maybe it's another position player like Ahmed Rosario. Who knows? Or maybe you throw in one of your third prospects or another prospect for the Nationals that the Rangers then get to be a lottery ticket kind of guy. Maybe that's the case that they will be in. But I really like this move. And again, if I'm the Nationals, I am certainly considering this because you will have 2 guys of decent value in this now system that will probably enter to be around top 20 in this system for both of these guys. And they're all not far off. One guy's in double A and one guy is in high A who probably will be in double A in the next few weeks. I think that this move from the Nationals with Nathaniel Lowe going back to the Rangers and we get 2 of their top pitching prospects, I would take that if I'm Mike DeBartolo and I would run with it. So that's another one that I would consider. So to wrap it up, the 2 teams that I consider to be good potential suitors for Nathaniel Lowe is the Boston Red Sox, who are now in that 3rd wild card spot, and the Texas Rangers, who sit a game and a half back from the Red Sox in that wild card spot. Both these teams need first basemen, and both these teams are very realistic teams to try to go get Nathaniel Lowe. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So next, let's talk about what the next week could hold for the Washington Nationals. But before that, I'll tell you everything and more about Monarch Money. Monarch Money is like your personal CFO, and you ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, and it can, whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. And it's like, again, having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. One thing that really surprised me with Monarch Money is, again, I can plan my future retirement. I am 25 years old, but it has helped me funnel everything into one app, and Monarch Money takes out the subscriptions and everything like that everything has added up over time. And I can now look at my spending, and also has made me realize that I spend too much on delivery and groceries, and I should try to funnel it into one expense. And Monarch Money has done all of that, and I want the same for you. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So next Thursday, the Nationals have the trade deadline, and we expect them to be pretty active in that sense. They're not going to be buyers, but they will be sellers. So keep your eye out for the trade deadline as we inch closer to that day. But before that, the Nationals, they do take on the Twins this weekend, and I'm actually pretty excited for this series because, again, the Twins have been a relatively disappointing team this year. A lot of people thought they would be a lot better than what they have been. So this series could totally pull them in different directions. If they sweep the Nationals, they may set themselves up to buy a little bit or maybe just not sell and try to go for it in the second half. But the Nationals have an opportunity to kind of play spoiler here. And you've got Mackenzie Gore in the bump for Friday night, 8:10 first pitch, tomorrow's game. And then also a really interesting matchup this weekend between the Nationals and the Twins is Jake Irvin. Jake Irvin is actually set to make a hometown start for the kid because he is from Minnesota and he is projected right now to start Sunday's game against the Twins, 2:10 p.m. Eastern time at Target Field. That'll be really exciting for him because Jake Irvin, love the guy, but has not been the best of seasons for him. But he's going to be back in his home state in Minnesota, and I think that's going to be a really cool thing. Jake Irvin is one of those nice Minnesotans, whatever you want to call them. I don't really know. I'm not from the North. I'm from the Mid-Atlantic here in D.C., but it's going to be a cool series for the kid. And again, the Nationals coming up on the trade deadline, you're going to have some positive momentum as we get through this weekend because it's going to be tough. They're going to be seeing the trade rumors. Nathaniel Lowe is going to be on the market. Kyle Finnegan, who has been with this team since 2020, he's going to be on the market. Maybe Mackenzie Gore, you might be able to see his last start for the Nationals on Friday. I mean, we'll see what happens, but Mackenzie Gore starts tomorrow's game. And on tomorrow's show, I'm going to tell you about some suitors for Mackenzie Gore and really what could come from that because I don't think the Nationals will be shopping him. But I do think teams will be calling about Mackenzie Gore. And I do believe that teams will be willing to give up a lot for Mackenzie Gore. And if I'm the Nationals and a team is willing to give up a Godfather type of offer, you got to take that and you got to run with it. That's what I would think if I'm the Washington Nationals. So stay tuned for tomorrow's show. I'll get into some trade suitors for Mackenzie Gore as he is set to make a start against the Minnesota Twins and a gotta have it series for the Minnesotans up there. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.